Well, thank you for inviting me here. Annika said that it's going to be better age-wise. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, this is me, or was me, once upon a time. Those were the days, my friend. I'm working as a coordinator at the Swedish Rural Network, and I'm working in the thematic group for youth, or youth inclusion, and also for the thematic group we have in fishery and aquaculture. And also I'm responsible for much of the international cooperation in our network. As a background, I'm an agronomist. I've been working as a farm advisor for many years, but then I've expanded into the whole rural society. And also a grandfather. Last week, the 5th grandchild, so that's pretty exciting. So I'm representing the really young as well. Well, the Swedish Rural Network is a part of the European Union Network for Rural Development. So every member state in the European Union, they have to have a rural network. It's organized in very different ways, but still, there are networks in all the European Union countries, and we're working together quite a lot. Lots of meetings together and interactions and so on. The main aim for these networks is to increase the engagement and involvement in rural development as a whole, but also to increase the quality of the implementation of these rural development programs in the whole European Union. And then, of course, inform the public, promote innovation, and promote international cooperation. In Sweden, we have chosen to have a membership-based network, and it's organizations and authorities that can be members, the ones working with rural development at the national level. And we have about 110 organizations and authorities as members in the Swedish Rural Network. We have several thematic working groups. We work with a small support unit where I'm based. We are about 11 people working there, not all of us working full time. But the main work is through the thematic working groups. So we have one for inclusion of immigrants. We have one for youth inclusion. We have a large one for what we say area-based businesses or green businesses that is actually split into, or that they have divided themselves into 4 different subgroups, let's say. We have one group working with community-led local development. It's a concept for rural development. Also said it's the leader groups, if you are familiar with that concept. It's a method to work with rural development. Then we have 2 projects or thematic groups, but they're organized as projects. One, public food, which is, if you know Jamie Oliver and his Food for Life concept, it's kind of the role model for this project. And then the group for fishery and aquaculture. And inclusion of immigrants, it's a big issue in rural Sweden and also in whole Sweden. We have received and are still receiving quite a lot of immigrants to Sweden. And the integration, very often, it's easier in a rural setting, in small communities, because you can get the whole community engaged in this integration and working together. So we have been promoting lots of different initiatives. And here is a video about education in horticulture, agriculture, directed to immigrants, for instance. I will not show that video now. It takes too long time, and unfortunately, it's in Swedish. But you can reach through the links. You will get the presentation later, the different materials. And much of the videos are in Swedish, but there are in Arabic, in Tigrinya, and so on as well, if some of you can speak those languages. But we are trying to promote all different kinds of integration work in rural areas through that working group. Inclusion of youth, which is the main subject here. Our idea, and I've seen also that some of the organizations here have the same idea, that it should be initiated activities and projects and so on, initiated by youth, for youth, with youth, not by adults for youth, which is very often the way we think, we old ones, this is what is needed, and we arrange something and serve it for young people. That's not the way it works, actually. In our thematic group, we have actually a member of our thematic group here. Elsa, you could wave a little bit. So I'm not alone from the thematic group. That's good. We're trying to support our member organizations in our network, how they can work to integrate, to include young people in their selection committees, in their boards, in their activities, and so on. We have a concept for events which we call young engagement, that is trying to boost young people from different parts in Sweden, meeting others with good ideas, getting knowledge how to get funding, where to get other resources, where to find knowledge, and so on. And we are working also with the communication channels we have in the network, the podcast, the webinars, and so on. So, methods how to reach youth, what language to use, places to meet, and so on, are sometimes very, very small, easy tools, but you need to know them in order to reach young people. And it's also important to get this inclusion, I have 3 minutes left, good, to be sustained over a long time, and not use young people as an alibi. We have one young person under 25 in our board. It is so important to give real influence for young people. And for agriculture, one idea that I have, it's maybe a personal view, but when I'm looking at the rural society as a whole, and in the Swedish context, it's so important to have a diversified job market in rural areas. It should be possible to work with many different things, because imagine you have a farm, the daughter, she wants to take over and run the farm. She has a university degree maybe, and her partner has another university degree. If that partner cannot find a job in the rural setting, where will the couple settle? Well, not in the rural setting, I don't think so. So it's so important to have much diversified job market. A researcher in Sweden, Lotta Svensson, that has been working quite a lot with youth inclusion, she's talking quite a lot about the urban norm. The norm saying that to be somebody, to get somewhere, you have to leave. You have to move to the city. Because it's there you can really be yourself. And it is reflected by many adults, parents, teachers, politicians in rural areas, in small communities, small towns. They're expecting young people, oh, you have to leave. And then you can come back. Well, if you're not welcome when you're young, why should you feel welcome coming back? Like one said in an interview that Lotta Svensson has in one of her reports, here you're only welcome if you leave. And that is, it's a mindset that we have from the urban norm. And it goes along with the report, Focus 18, a report that the Swedish Agency for Youth and Civil Society is making. The building stones for social inclusion is here. It's a belonging, a feeling of belonging, participation in community, and resources for all these building stones. And what they have found, it is a report built on several focus groups, and also interviews with 5,000 or so more. Is it me? Yeah. Time to wake up. It's almost the same in rural areas as in suburbs and socially neglected urban settings. So they have a lot of suggestions how to work with this to include youth. I'm going fast now. This is a project, you can read about that in the presentation, and there are links and so on. So please feel free to connect with me. You have my email here and all the communication channels for the Rural Network. Thanks a lot.